So good afternoon. My name is Orzama and I represent Jambori. We are a company who trains students on SAT, ACT, admissions counseling, etc. We have 35 centers in 22 cities and 4 countries. We also do live training or live online training for all the products. So as when you apply to universities abroad, especially US universities, there are lots of admissions criteria. It is not based only on one exam. There are quite a few admissions criteria. The first criteria is the standardized test, SAT or the ACT, either one. So you may have heard about myths that universities prefer ACT over the SAT or that SAT is easier. Whatever those myths are, they are not true. Universities give equal weightage to both these exams. If you are an Indian passport holder, if your native language is not English, then you may have to take the TOEFL or IELTS as well, depending on which university you are applying to. So these are the standardized tests. Standardized test means they are uniform across the world. So if you get a 1500 on your SAT or a 34 in your ACT, so it does not matter whether you are an Indian student or an American student, a 1500 is 1500 everywhere, which is not necessarily true for academic record. Let's say you have a 95% from CBSE board, that is not equivalent to a 95% from ICSE board or a state board. So the academic record or the other parameters in the list, they are not standardized. So these tests are the only standardized things in the entire list of items that's required for you to get admission in a university abroad, especially US university. The next admissions criteria is extracurricular activities. So whatever you have done, any extracurricular activities that you might have done since class 8, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. Essays. So when you start applying to universities, so the application will have these two things: application essays and letters of recommendation. So 2 to 3 letters of recommendation may be required. And about, depending again on which university you are applying to, you may have to write 2 to 5 essays. So in some universities, the number required is as high as 10 or 15 as well. Some of the universities you may also have to attend an interview. So some interviews are also there, but only in the very topmost US universities, there may be interviews that you may need to attend. So anyway, let's come to the standardized test. A lot of students face problems deciding whether to take the SAT or the ACT because universities give equal weightage, and students are not sure which one to take. So we get a lot of students who come to us and ask us, should I take the SAT or should I take the ACT? So we thought that this might be a good time to address those queries. Some very basic differences and similarities between both these exams. Whether it's SAT or ACT, there is no negative marking, so that's one good thing, right? SAT is a paper pencil test, so you write the test and you get the results in in 3 weeks. ACT, on the other hand, is a computer-based test, so the test is conducted on a computer, so you get the results sooner. So you tend to get the results in a week or so, in 1 to 2 weeks. So you get the results sooner. So in case you do not get a good score in the first attempt, so you have time to make up your mind, and whether to take the exam again or not. In case you want to take the next attempt, so you do not have to wait longer, because you get the result in 2 weeks. So you can make a fast, quick decision whether you have to take the ACT again or not. Both these scores, SAT as well as ACT, they are valid for 5 years. So these are some very basic similarities and differences between these two exams. Now I'll talk a little bit about the structure of these exams. They are very different in terms of structure and scoring, very, very different. So the SAT, as you know, it has a verbal section, where verbal section is further split into 2 sections. A reading section. So in the reading section, there are 52 questions and you have to solve them in 65 minutes. Then there is the writing and language section, where there are 44 questions which you have to solve in 35 minutes. So you have less than 1 minute per question for the writing section of the verbal portion. Both these sections combined together give you the verbal score, which is on a scale of 200 to 800 with 10-point increment. That means you get 210, 220. You cannot get a 603, let's say. You will either get a 600 or a 610. Then there is a math section. Math section is again split into two sections. First section is a section where you are not allowed to use the computer. So it is called the section without calculator, where there are 20 questions which you have to solve in 25 minutes. Then the next section is where you are allowed to use a calculator, where you have to do 38 questions in 55 minutes. So in math, again you have well more than 1 minute per question to solve. The scoring is again on a scale of 200 to 800 with 10-point increment. So the SAT overall scoring is on a scale of 400 to 1600. The lowest you will get is 400, the highest you can get is 1600. In addition to this, there is an essay section which is optional. So here you have to write one essay in 50 minutes, 50. So this is the last section. The essay section happens to be the last section of the SAT exam. The scoring is on a scale of 2 to 8. Now, though the essay section is optional, a lot of universities require you to take the essay. So it is highly recommended that you take the essay, so that you take the SAT exam with the essay. So this is the SAT exam structure. One thing that you need to keep in mind is that the time duration of the exam, the time per question. So just keep in mind these parameters when I talk about the ACT exam. Now the ACT exam structure, there are far more sections, right? So the first section is the English section, where you have to solve 75 questions in 45 minutes. The English section is very similar, in terms of skill sets, in terms of types of questions, very, very similar to the writing and language test of SAT. So this section, if you have to say, it is similar to the writing and language section of the SAT exam. And in the writing and language section, if you remember, in SAT also you had less than 1 minute per question. In ACT also you have less than 1 minute per question. The scoring is on a scale of 1 to 36 with 1-point increment. That means you can get 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. You will not get 4.5 or 5.5, etc. The next is a math section, where you have 60 questions that you have to solve in 60 minutes. So it's exactly 1 minute per question you get, approximately, that you get. Throughout the math section, you are allowed to use the calculator. Unlike the SAT, where you are not allowed to use the calculator in one section, you are allowed to use only in the second section. In the math, in ACT, for the entire math section, you are allowed to use the calculator. The scoring is on a scale of 1 to 36, very similar to the English section. In terms of the concepts or in terms of types of questions, the SAT math and ACT math are, they're similar. You can say that they are similar, right? The math section of ACT and the math section of SAT. The next section is a reading section, which is similar to the reading section of the types of passages, the types of questions, skills, very, very similar to the reading section of SAT, right? So here you have got 45 questions in 35 minutes. Again, you have got less than 1 minute per question, right? And in the SAT, if you remember, you had far more time in the reading section. Here, for ACT, you have got less than 1 minute per question, and this does not even include, this 35 minutes does not even include the time that you will need to read the passage. The scoring is on a scale of 1 to 36. So all the sections in ACT are scored on a scale of 1 to 36. The fourth section is the science section, where you have got 35 minutes to be solved in 40 questions. So the SAT does not have a science section. The ACT has a science section. Though the name is science section, it does not mean that you will be solving science problems or you will be getting questions from physics, chemistry, maths. It's not like that. It is similar to a reading comprehension section. You will have passages and you will get questions based on those passages. Only thing is that the passages are going to be excerpts, from scientific text. So they are scientific passages, and you will get questions based on the scientific passages. So though the name is science, it does not mean that you will get physics, chemistry, biology kind of questions. So again, you get less than 1 minute per question. The scoring is on a scale of 1 to 36. So all the 4 sections. So these are the 4 sections of ACT. Each section you get a score of 1 to 36, and an overall Overall ACT score is an average of the four scores. So average of the four scores, that means again the ACT exam overall also is scored on a scale of 1 to 36, 1 being the lowest, 36 being the highest, with 1 point increment. So the scoring is definitely very different from SAT. SAT it was on a scale of 400 to 1600. ACT now it's 1 to 36, right? Now, one thing you should note is that math is 25% of the ACT exam, right? So, math is 25% of the ACT exam, whereas in the SAT exam, math was 50% of the exam. So, there are again some myths. Students think that if they are from the science stream, if they in class 11, 12, if they have science, then they will get a higher ACT score, then they would get an SAT score. But that's not necessarily true, because the science section is essentially reading comprehension. So either you are a science student or a humanities student or even a commerce student, it does not mean that you will do well. There is no rule, there is no particular formula based on which you can say that, well, science students will score higher on the ACT exam, or that humanities score students will score higher on the ACT exam. There is no fixed formula, because the skill sets are kind of similar. Moreover, if you think about it, if somebody from the humanities, let's say till class 10, let's say were pretty good, were decent with math, let's say, and now maybe in 11, 12 does not have maths, but very good reading skills. So that person might actually end up getting higher ACT score. Why? Because the math score is just 25% of the overall score. So if you think like that it does not mean that ACT favors the science stream students. It may actually favor those humanity students who are not comfortable with hardcore math, but whose reading skills are pretty well developed. Just like the SAT, ACT also has an essay section where you have to write an essay in 40 minutes. In SAT, you get 50 minutes to write the essay. In ACT, you get 40 minutes. The topics are also not neither too different nor too similar. The scoring is on a scale of 2 to 12. So on SAT also the essay was optional. In ACT, the essay is optional. But again, some universities need the essay score. So if you are taking the ACT, it's highly recommended that you take the essay as well. The score is anyway not going to add to your overall score. So no harm taking the exam. So Nikhil, your question is ACT reading harder than SAT? Actually, it's not. The passages are quite simpler. The questions are quite simpler. The only problem is a time factor. You get less than 1 minute per question, and this does not even include the time that you will need to read the passages. So ACT is so when you read the questions, the questions will seem easier to you. So ACT questions are easier to solve than SAT exam, but the time that you get per question in ACT is far lower than you get in SAT. So when you combine both these things, so you can actually say that both are equal difficulty level. SAT, the questions may be higher difficulty level, but you get more time. In ACT, the questions are pretty straightforward. The questions are easier, but you get less time, right? So the difficulty level of an exam is always a combination of the actual difficulty level of the questions, each question, individual questions, plus the time that you get per question. So when you combine these two things, then you get the overall difficulty level of an exam. Now, as I said, I repeat, in SAT, the individual questions are slightly more difficult than the individual ACT questions, but you get more time to solve them. So when you combine both these things, so the difficulty level of both these exams are actually almost similar. Does that answer your question, Nikhil? Maths the same thing. Maths is also the same thing. Whether it is reading or writing or math, I am talking about the overall exam. Overall, both these exams are almost of equal difficulty level. Alright, now SAT is conducted 4 times: March, May, October, December, with a validity of 5 years, which we already discussed. ACT is conducted 24 times. So twice, so basically 2 days in February, 2 days in June, 2 days in April, 2 days in September, 2 days in October, and 2 days in December. And on each day, so basically twice on each day. So total 4 times. So 4 times in April, 4 times in February, 4 times in June, 4 times in September. So overall the count comes to be 24. Right? So for example, your December ACT exam is on December 7th and December 8th. So you can either take it on December 7th, which is a Friday, or December 8th, which is a Saturday. So on all these months, so 6 months, so ACT is conducted 6 months in a year. On each month 2 days, and on each day twice, so 24 times. So ACT, in terms of availability, in terms of when you can take the exam, ACT is more flexible. ACT is definitely more flexible than SAT. SAT you get only 4 chances in a year, right? So ACT you can take, if you take the exam in February, and if you don't get a good score, you can take it in April, or you can take it in June. So you essentially you get 5 more chances to take the exam, right? Okay, this is clear. So in terms of the availability of how many times you can take the exam, ACT is more flexible than SAT. Some more similarities and differences. The registration fee of SAT is $113. ACT is 166.5. So ACT is more expensive. Right? So SAT is a cheaper exam to take. You get to send your scores to 4 universities for free in both the exams. So this is the similarity. After 4 universities, if you have to send it to a few more universities, then SAT it is $12 per university, and ACT is $13 per university. So not much difference here as well. Now in SAT, if you missed the registration date, let's say you want to take the exam in December and you missed the registration date to book the registration date for booking the date for registering for the exam, then you have something called wait list. So if you can go to the test center on the exam date, and if there is any availability, so you can take the exam by paying $51. This is the waitlist fee. ACT, since anyway the exam is conducted 24 times a year, so there is no concept of waitlist, right? So if you forget to register for the December ACT, then that's fine. You go ahead and you take it in February. There is no waitlist fee. So if you miss the registration deadline, then you have to take it the next time it is offered. You cannot take it on the date that you want to. Now one very this is the part where I would like everybody to pay attention and focus. So if you are applying to the top 10-15 universities, US universities, so you probably already know that in addition to SAT, you would also need to take 2 to 3 SAT subject tests, right? So if you are applying to the Harvards and the MITs, Cornell, Columbia, or these very top universities, you, in addition to the SAT 1 or regular SAT, you would be required to take 2 to 3 SAT subject tests, right? Now, instead, if you decide to take the ACT, only ACT is required. SAT subject test is not required. So in that sense, taking the ACT makes sense. If you're taking the SAT and you want to apply to the top 10-15 universities, you will have to take the SAT plus 2 or 3 subject tests. So you will be kind of taking almost 4 tests, right? SAT plus SAT subject test, you'll be taking almost 4 tests. You'll be preparing for 4 tests. You'll be registering for 4 tests. So in the end, it is a lot of effort. But if you take the ACT, you don't have to take subject tests. So Nikhil, if you want to apply for economics major, and if you have to write SAT subject test, then your options are either you have to take the maths, one of the maths, or world history, English literature, or American history. So these are your options. There is no subject test for economics. You have to take some of the humanities related subject tests, world history or US history or English literature, plus a math, of course. For only top universities, yes. For only the top 10-15 universities. So you, Nikhil, once you take your SAT, If your SAT score is more than 1490 or 1480, then prepare for your SAT subject test. If your score is less than 1480, 1450, then you would anyway, your chances of getting into a top 10, 15 US universities is anyway low, right? In that case, you might as well retake the SAT. Okay. Now with ACT, you do not have to worry about subject tests. So in that sense, it makes sense for you to just take the ACT. Especially right now, let's say this is already October of 2018, and let's say you have not taken or prepared for any of the exams. You want to apply for fall of 2019, and you want to apply to the top 10, 15 US universities. Then your only strategy should be to take the ACT in December. So if you take the ACT in December and you get a good score, you are eligible to apply to the top 10, 15 universities. On the other hand, if you take the December SAT, you don't have now time to take the subject test, right? So a lot of the top universities you will not be able to apply to for fall 2019. Right? So if you want to apply for fall 2020, then there's a lot of time. You don't have to worry about that. I'm talking about students, who want to apply for fall 2019 and still have not started their ACT or SAT preparation. All right. Is this point clear? This is a very important point for you to remember, especially those of you who have not yet made up your mind regarding whether you want to take the SAT or ACT. So keep this point in mind. So Nikhil, in your case, yes, you are writing the December SAT, good, but you might also want to take a diagnostic test of ACT and see, your comfort level with the ACT. If you feel that your comfort level with ACT is better, then you should take the ACT. So basically, students, the most scientific way for students to choose is that take a diagnostic test of SAT, take a diagnostic test of ACT, and then based on your performance there, take a call. However, if you want to apply for the top 10, 15 universities, most of the students who apply to the top 10, 15 universities, they take both the exams. So getting into a top 10, 15 university is extremely competitive. So here you should leave no stone unturned, to improve your chances of getting admission. So you should take both the exams, and the higher score, whichever exam you score higher, you send that score to the university. So Nikhil, this can be your another strategy. Take the SAT in December, and take the ACT also. You can take the ACT in April of next year. You can take the ACT in June also of next year. Remember, with ACT, you do not have to worry about subject tests. That's the biggest advantage of ACT. If you take the ACT along with the essay, you don't have to worry about subject tests. Now you take only one exam. You prepare and appear for only one exam. Right? All right. So that's what you should. That's what your targets should be. Right. Another thing, if you are again, as I said, if it's September, October, if it's already September, October, and you want to apply for the next year, session starting next year, then you do not have enough time to take both SAT and SAT subject test. So if you have not started your SAT preparation by September, August, September of this year, then what you should do is that you might as well prepare only for ACT. Right? Because as I said, you will not have enough time to take the SAT as well as SAT subject test to be eligible to apply to the top 10, 15 universities. Right? Okay, any questions? So yeah, Nikhil, I'm glad you found this idea useful. You should definitely try it out. You probably know that in Jamboree we train for both SAT and ACT. Our first ACT live training batch is starting on October 18th. So Nikhil, that's okay. Our ACT training is through live, so it's not based out of centers. So it is live training, online training. And if you have already enrolled for SAT with any of our centers, you get a 50% discount on our ACT price. So if you need any details, if you need any other information, please feel free to email us